not see her. All right. So I have 7:33, Woodstock's Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for February 18th, 2021. And I'm going to go through the roll and just let me know if you're here, even though I do know you're here, but we'll have it on the record. Joe Adaletta. Did we lose Joe?
Joe has a problem with his internet connection, so you may find him coming in and out.
Okay, I'll get back to him when we
Yeah.
if he comes in. Mark Blackmer.
Here.
Sid Blodgett.
Here.
We've already mentioned Gail Dickinson is not yet on. Nancy Frazier.
Here.
Jeff Gordon. I'm here. Jeff Marcotte.
Here.
David Morse is not able to attend tonight. Doug Porter.
Here.
Fred Rich.
Here.
Dwight Reinowitz.
Here.
And Timothy Young.
Here.
Well, assuming Joe's reconnecting, that would leave us then with, so right now, at least we need 2 alternates. And looking at the listing, I try to keep it as fair as I can. We actually are back in alphabetical order, which would mean we would start with the letter F, which Nancy would be you, and then the next would be Doug for you, if you're okay being seated. So I'll note for the record that Nancy Frazier and Doug Porter are seated as alternates. If Dwight, if Joe just is unable to connect back in, I can seat you, but I don't know if he's, normally he texts if he bounces out, but I think what we'll do is if Joe's able to come back on, I'll note it. But for the purposes of being able to take any particular votes, which we do have some coming up, if Joe's not able to, what I'll do is I'll right now, Dwight, if you're okay with it, I'll seat you as an alternate. So I'll note that Dwight Reinowitz is seated, and then we'll see where we are with Joe. But I'll note that for the record then, so that way we're covered. And I'm just going to state a couple of quick things before we move on. I know all of us on the commission know this, but I just want to make certain that anyone in the from the public who isn't aware, we are meeting by virtual according to the provisions of the governor's executive orders. So we are following those. However, our rules still apply for how we conduct our business and how we have to follow our regulations and any other applicable state statutes that have not otherwise been displaced by the executive orders. I do ask that members of the public keep their microphones off so we don't get background noise. I know some of you are here for particular agenda items, and we'll recognize you when we get to those agenda items. Otherwise, we'll, if there's something you wish to speak to, then let me know. And we will find you. I do ask that people do not use the chat function, so we don't have side conversations that we're not aware of, because this is a public meeting. And then if you are by phone and wish to be recognized, that is star, which one? I have it listed here. Correct me, Crystal, is that *6 or star?
That is *6 or *9. I will check on that.
And that way then we can see that you're recognized.
Gail is on now?
Yes, so I will note that Gail is here, and then that would mean, Dwight, that keeping the alphabetical order, I'll list that we won't seat you right now. All right?
Joe keeps trying to join. If someone wants to text him and have him call in, he might have better luck that way.
He knows, because I know I've spoken with him before about calling in. I know he wants to be able to see, but I'll text him now. So, but we'll proceed accordingly. I just texted him. So, does anyone have any questions about the meeting rules and guidelines? Hearing none. We've already noted our designation of alternates already. My chair's report is going to be very quick. One is my usual thank yous to the commissioners for the work that you've been doing. And also thank you to the staff, Delia, Tina, Crystal, Cindy for the work that gets done, just not at meetings, but that gets done, every day that we need to have our work done. I just want to remind everybody that on March 4th, we have our annual legal training session with a distinguished town attorney. That's in place of our regular meeting we would have, or special meeting we would normally have that Thursday, and we start at 7:30. And we will go accordingly with that. So that is our agenda item for that session, and we would focus on that. Documents did go out about every year. We get documents reminding us about public records retention and disposition and equal employment opportunity policy. I believe that did go out in the meeting packets. That stuff emanates every year. So if you haven't read it, please do. Otherwise, we get copies of that every year, so we're aware of it. And if anybody does want to attend the virtual Connecticut Land Use Law Seminar on March 6th, you can register. And I'm registered for it. We do have money in our budget to cover the registration fee, which is not much, but it is a good session. So we can go accordingly with that. And then I do want to offer congratulations. I believe, Gail, congratulations to you. If I'm correct, you've been reappointed as Woodstock's representative to NDDH.
Yep, that's correct.
And I know, Doug, you were the representative for a number of years, and I was the alternate.
Yeah, 20 years.
So, and I'm sure you got a very big award.
Yeah, just like you.
Yep. So, Gail, if you
Raise
could,
every year when you're a member for that long, right?
Yeah.
well, you have a goal now to beat 20 years.
Yes.
So, but congratulations. I saw that in the Board of Selectmen's meeting minutes. So congratulations. And I believe Joe has joined us. There you are, Joe. Hi. So I'll note for the record that Joe has joined us, which I believe means right now we only need one alternate.
Can you hear me okay? I'm not sure on the mic.
Yep.
Yep,
So
okay.
I think that would leave then, going alphabetical, will leave just now Nancy to be the seated alternate, which means, Doug, you're next up in alphabetical order. So we have our meeting minutes from January 21st, 2021. What is the wish of the commission?
Move we approve.
Second.
So motion by Gail Dickinson, seconded by Fred Rich, to approve the meeting minutes from January 21st, 2021 as presented. Does anyone have any questions, comments, suggested edits for the meeting minutes? Hearing none, I'll go through the roll. Joe Adaletta,
Aye.
Mark Blackmer,
Aye.
Sid Blodgett,
Aye.
Gail Dickinson,
Aye.
Nancy Frazier.
I'm going to abstain just because I wasn't there in person.
Okay, so we will note that. Jeff Gordon, aye. Jeff Marcotte.
Aye.
And Fred Rich
Aye.
and Timothy Young.
Aye.
So I believe that so passes. Move that there and just note this for the record here. The next then takes us to two non-residential zoning permits. One is one that we had dealt with before, which is 8B. The other one is a new one. So this is 8A, Unit 2A, 283, Route 169. This is the change of business from Villager newspaper to Line Hill Consulting and Tax Preparation. Tina had told me that she is not going to be able to be on tonight's call. I had already talked with her when I accepted this on the agenda that it is a complete application, and she had told me that she had not found anything that had raised any question or concern on her part from a zoning compliance point of view. I will open it up certainly to the applicant. If you wish to say anything, you're more than welcome to. You're not required to, but thank you for being here tonight. If you would like to say something, then we just ask you, state your name for the record, so we have it all on the recording.
Jennifer McDowell, Lionel Consulting. I just want to thank you for considering the zoning change, and that hopefully it'll be something that can get approved so that I can get a real office and not be in my home.
I'll open up to commissioners. Anyone have any questions or comments?
No questions, but I'll make a motion to approve the application as presented.
And is there a second? Who's second, Mark? I mean,
Tim Young.
Tim. So motion by Joe Adaletta, seconded by Tim Young to present the, to approve the application as presented. Any discussion? I just have one question because I just want to make certain it's clarified on the record because it matters with regards to the sign. Whenever we approve the permit, if the sign is to be part of it, it's bundled in as part of it. If a sign is to be requested at a later time, it has to be a separate sign permit with a fee that goes through Tina's office. And I note under sign, it says possible 3. So are you looking to have this for potential signs put in to this permit? Or are you thinking of?
No, just if we just put it in as 3, there's one on the big sign out front. There's a small one over by like where the Masons are. And then there's a tiny, I wanted to put one by the front door, but that was the one. I'm not sure if I'll put that one there or not. But so if we just say 3 now, and that'll go in, I can not put it if I don't want it.
Correct. And that way then it gets listed that it's bundled into this application as kind of a one-stop shopping. So that way it's clear on the record, and certainly whatever with the signs, Tina will go over that with you anyway.
Yeah, I spoke to her earlier as well.
Does anyone have anything else on this agenda item? Otherwise, I'll go through the roll. Okay. Joe Adaletta,
Aye.
Mark Blackmer,
Aye.
Sid Blodgett,
Aye.
Gail Dickinson,
Aye.
Nancy Frazier,
Aye.
Jeff Gordon, aye. Jeff Marcotte,
Aye.
David Morse. Oh, he's not here. Fred Rich
Aye.
and Tim Young.
Aye.
That so passes. So Tina will do whatever magic she does afterwards, and we will go accordingly.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. One thing I did, Jeff, did you have something? Oh, although actually that reminds me, Jeff, one thing I forgot to do was our Pledge of Allegiance. If you wanted to lead us on it, I forgot that, which we've been doing.
Sure, I was just, I was waving to acknowledge Jen's saying thank you to us, so. And here we go with the pledge.
Here, let me get the flag. I forgot about it. Sorry about that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Indivisible.
indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Sorry about that. I forgot to note it on my prep sheet. Thank you. That takes us to agenda item 8B, which is the ARC 22-171. We had taken this up before about a change of business from Pine Knoll Real Estate to ARC Bakery, and we were waiting for NDDH to issue a permit, which we did get, which should be in the meeting packets. And that was the only thing we were waiting on. So since we have it, we're now able to take this this back up. There were, from what I did review this with Tina, and she had told me that there was not anything else that she had listed that she was waiting on. This does require a, what is the proper term, Delia? Certificate of location for a bakery? Is that what it is? That has to be filled out later?
I believe that's what it's called.
Yep.
So your approval allows them to get this bakery license.
And there's an application the state has, and we have to check off, or Tina will, that zoning approval has been granted. And then it looks like I have to sign it as chair to attest that it's been approved. And this is,
Yes.
then the applicant submits this into the Department of Consumer Protection. So, so that will allow that state process to take place. Interestingly, it's only a one-page application for the state, which is surprising for the state to have such a short application. But this is the matter that's before us. And again, Tina did not find anything else that, now that we have the NDDH. I don't know if the applicant or the applicant's representative is here tonight. If you are, you're more than welcome. If you wish to speak on your application, otherwise you don't have to. You're not required to, but I'll give you the opportunity if you are here.
I am here.
If you-
My name is Jennifer Ritchie.
Welcome. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me. This is exciting news. We're ready to go forward. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
I'll open it up to commissioners. If any commissioners have any questions, comments, motions.
Move, we approve the application.
Second, Blackmer.
So motion by Dickinson, seconded by Blackmer to approve the application as presented. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll go through the roll. Joe Adaletta?
Aye.
Excuse me, Matt. We talked about signs. On the application, I believe we have 3 signs that we want to put up, and I want to put them into this approval as well.
Well, we just need to make certain it is already listed here. That was
Yes.
noted prior. Yep, and then
Okay.
if this is approved, then you just have to work with Tina about making certain the signs are compliant, and then they can go up.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, she'll take care
And
of it.
if I could add, Jeff, just signs and lighting of the signs, that's also important to make sure the lighting is consistent with our regulations.
So basically what will happen is you'll speak with Tina. And then she'll be back in office on Monday, and then she can go over with you all the stuff that happens post-approval,
Thank you.
including, you're right, Joe, about lighting and about signs and the lighting of signs.
Thank you.
So I'll go through the road. Joe Adaletta,
Aye.
Mark Blackmer,
Aye.
Sid Blodgett,
Aye.
Gail Dickinson,
Aye.
Nancy Frazier,
Aye.
Jeff Gordon. Aye. Jeff Marcotte.
Aye.
Fred Rich.
Aye.
And Timothy Young.
Aye.
That so passes. Congratulations. And that also, I believe, if I'm correct, is automatically meaning that we have to get bakery products for every one of our planning and zoning meetings. So I think we're probably going to have planning and zoning meetings, what, once or twice a week now?
When we're up and running, absolutely. You'll get your cookies.
And the milk.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. This is going to be great. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, all the success. And Tim will make certain he supplies the milk.
Okay, excellent. Have a good evening.
You too?
Thank you for choosing Woodstock for the bakery.
Oh, it's going to be awesome.
The next is we're a public hearing that we had scheduled, but we're not going to open it. What ended up happening was we received, and this was sent out by email because it happened several days ago, was that the applicant for SP 9604M, which is agenda item 9, the GED Enterprise LLC, doing business as Bradford Standing Seam at 130 Brockway Road. They want to modify the special permit. They have hired Killingly Engineering Associates, and we did receive 2 days ago a written request to reschedule the opening of the public hearing to our next business meeting, which actually is March 18th. So we won't open the meeting. We do have, I believe it's 65 days within which to open the public hearing. And if we open this on March 18th, we're within the 65 days without a problem. I've been told that Killingly Engineering just needs time to do whatever they need to do. And if there's additional documents to get it to us. And so that's why there's the request for us to reschedule the public hearing. So we won't technically open it. What we'll do is our business now would be to take a vote to reschedule the public hearing to March 18th. And we usually do the public hearing starting at 7:45, if that process makes sense.
I'll move to accept this request to move the public hearing to the March 18th meeting to start at 7:45 PM.
And is there a second?
Second, Blackmer.
Okay. I was worried there for a second that nobody would second. So motion by Adaletta, seconded by Blackmer to reschedule the public hearing to March 18th of this year at 7:45 PM. Does anyone have any discussion on the motion on the table? Hearing none, I'll go through the roll. Joe Adaletta,
Aye.
Mark Blackmer,
Aye.
Sid Blodgett,
Aye.
Gail Dickinson,
Aye.
Nancy Frazier,
Aye.
Jeff Gordon, aye. Jeff Marcotte.
Aye.
Let's see here. Let me just make certain I'm putting these in the right columns. Fred Rich
Aye.
and Timothy Young.
Aye.
That so passes. So we will make a note. Delia, you're the one that's handling this special permit?
Yes.
So you'll notify them that we did approve the rescheduling to the March 18th.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. The next is not an action item per se. We did receive, and this, I believe, was in the, this was supposed to, yeah, this was in the meeting packet, so we had already received it, was for agenda item 10. This is the application 6451029 for Center Road LLC. This was the 3-lot proposed subdivision. We did receive written documentation that the applicant is withdrawing the subdivision application because the property is sold and the party that bought it is not interested in the proposed subdivision. We don't need to take a vote. We will note officially on the record, we did receive the request. This has been withdrawn. But there is one action item I do want to bring up. Was at a prior meeting, there was a question raised when there was discussion about the timeline that we follow. And I did have a memo that was in the meeting packet for February 4th to outline the timeline for this application, because there was a couple of questions raised and the commission wanted me to review it with Attorney Roberts, which I did. And Attorney Roberts did concur with the timeline. I also had reviewed it with Delia as well, as far as the timeline that we were following, separate from anything that applies to the governor's executive orders. And we asked that we get out, and I think it was either in the meeting, this meeting packet or the last one, the printed timelines that some years ago Delia put together about different types of applications, which is a flow chart, very helpful. And I believe that should have been in the meeting packets for everybody to have. If you didn't get copies of them, then they can be sent back out to you. But they're very helpful. I forget how long ago it was, Delia, you put it together, but I use them every time to keep track of the number of days of the different parts of the application process. So I believe that answers the question that the commission had asked, unless there was any other question that I didn't mark down, but that answered the question for people relative to the timeline we followed on this application and the timelines in general.
Jeff,
Okay.
did you find out if there was any special consideration from the governor mandates or executive orders that could have extended that if needed?
Yes, and that's what I'm going to ask Rich tonight is, the governor's executive orders were expiring on the 9th, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, but, well, I know that he's been granted authority through through some part of April now, or May, to continue on doing executive orders. Have these executive orders that apply to us as a commission, were those renewed by the governor?
Yes.
Okay.
They were extended through April 19th.
So yes, we would have those additional provisions, and we do now. I think it's an additional 90 days to use time for continuing, say, a public hearing, making a decision after public hearing, or otherwise extending decision time.
Good to know.
It would be
Thank
an
you.
Additional 90 days total, beyond state statute.
Yeah, I mean, and it could also be used to delay the opening of the hearing. It's just basically an additional 90-day of extension time on top of what you have.
But that 90 days is overall up to
statutes.
90 days. So however we use those 90 days, you can't go beyond those additional 90 days. And so with a lot of these applications, we do keep track, or I know Delia does as well, where we keep a tally of how many days we're using for different things to make certain that we don't somehow accidentally go beyond the time frame that we're not supposed to go beyond. So hopefully that answered that question for you, Joe.
Yes, thank you.
And I appreciate, Rich, you taking, the hours and hours that you took to go over that with me. So thank you. The next item on our business is something that I've mentioned before, that, we've made the decision relative to our planning work that we want to get back to using the first Thursday of each month to have our planning meetings. And we were doing that in the early part of 2020 when everything kind of changed. And what I did was I put in the packet an updated strategic plan, which hadn't been updated. I think the last time might have been 2017, where just to show you that from our kind of planning hat that we were wearing, the last work we were doing really in earnest was working with the Ag Commission and others in town on reviewing and updating the ag regulations, including pertaining to farm stores, ag-related farm venues, and any type of non-ag related things that happen at farms. And we were in the process of going through that. And in fact, where we left off was that we were going to be bringing back, looking at some actual regulations and some draft wording, what other towns were doing and kind of what we were talking about, some ideas and thoughts, so we can have some type of visual on the screen to help guide us. But then things stopped once the pandemic really hit and we had a shift to do some other things. I've been hearing from folks that we would like to get back to that work we were doing. And so I listed it as our current work, which technically it is. There wasn't anything else that we were tackling at the same time. And as we know, there's only so many big projects we can do at once. I did list other items, which are listed there based upon what we had kind of been keeping a list of various things we were thinking of, or at some point, we're thinking of wanting to get into. I did include what you had brought up, Gail, at our last meeting about we are going to have to think about on the timeline when we're going to have to get back to another review and update of the POCD. And we did receive a request from the Conservation Commission that at some point to look at potentially having aquifer protection overlay zones. A number of these are big projects. But really at this point, what we would like to decide is we're getting back to the planning meetings, which would be, the first one would be in April because the first Thursday of March is our meeting with town attorney. And this will give us time to pull a number of documents together. And I have a pile of them that we were looking through and wanted to get, so we can get that all out to you with enough time in a meeting packet, ideally for the March meeting, if we can. To give you enough heads up to be able to look at some of the stuff we were doing before. Unless anybody has any objections, my assumption has been we would want to get back to that work, which we had listed before as our number one thing for the planning meetings. But I'm open to what you would like to do. If that's what you want, we're prepared to get back to it.
I think that's a good idea, Jeff. It's time we try to catch up onto a couple of these things anyway. Seems like there's more interest or some questions maybe about farm stores versus farm stands, some what might be sit down eating at a brewery or where that fits in. And what I was a little surprised at this evening was the approval for the Arcs Bakery and the process that you mentioned, Jeff, about needing a certificate of location for the Arc to go to the Department of Consumer Protection to get, I guess, approval to start a bakery there. And it's kind of tying into what I'm looking at this list of the strategic plan of farm stores and home occupations. where there seem to be, people baking things or making foodstuffs in home occupations and selling them in local stores. And I certainly don't know what their approval process was, but I just want to make sure that as a commission, we're following whatever state requirements are needed to allow home occupations that make foodstuffs that are sold outside of that home business, put for retail sale in local farm stores or other businesses, if we're following the appropriate procedure, and if those applicants are also following the procedures. So anyway, I think it ties together with home occupation and farm stands and food sales.
I have had some discussions before with Tina about it. I know when she's aware of home occupations that are up and running, she does talk with them and say, hey, you need a permit. And I know that when there's been any that have wanted to do anything baking, the state, the Department of Consumer Protection requires a permit from them. And that gets into the public health as well, signing off. So I do know, having spoken with her prior about it, she does tell them that, that you have to get your state permits and you have to get okay from public health. And I know she's mentioned that to me in a few times, that she has told people, you need to look into it. You just can't suddenly start it. Especially the state won't like it if you don't get a bakery permit or anything that is requiring public health sign off. But that is a valid point, because some people will seek a home occupation permit that way. So two other things that I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Fred.
Just on the same thing. I know for a fact that the state is very stickly about this cooking something at home and then selling it out. You have to have an approved kitchen and very costly. I know a couple of people that do it, and they had to go jump through a lot of hoops.
Do you know, Fred, if the state monitors that for
Oh,
compliance?
yeah. They inspect it and everything.
If they know about it, presumably.
Correct.
Well, if they don't know about it, it's
Right.
illegal.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Not much you can do about that.
Right.
And I know for a fact when Tina hears about some home occupations, in fact, even a few non-home occupation businesses that are functioning, she does reach out to them if they don't have a permit. And I know she does. She's told me this on more than one occasion. She reminds them that just because the town may then grant you a permit doesn't mean there aren't other permits you have to get, like public health or anything with the state, with it. Otherwise, the state, once it knows about it, doesn't shine a nice light on it. So they can come down very hard on it. All the more reason why we encourage people, if they're going to do things, to touch base with Tina to see what the permitting process is. So I think there are people who do home occupations and really don't even know that there's permitting that the state even requires for certain things to keep everything kosher, so to speak. So is everybody else okay with us taking back up the ag stuff where we were?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm good, definitely good working on that.
Two other things I wanted to mention, because it kind of in every year we bring it up, and we really didn't have any chance in 2020 to bring it up in a second, Delia. One is that we had prior, going back to 2019, talked about needing to make some updates to the land use fee ordinance, and not so much changing the fees, but streamlining and making easier to understand and easier to use the process. I know, Delia, back then you had actually talked with me about certain things to make the wording and the process easier, because were some things that were a bit confusing or cumbersome. And in 2019, in my notes, when I went back, it was early in 2019, the commission at the time said, yeah, we would actually want to bring up looking at some proposals about what to do. And then that goes to a town meeting. And we were going to, at the end of the year, kind of see where things played out and try to do that in 2020. But of course, things changed in 2020, unfortunately. So if that's still something that we want to look at, because from time to time, we actually do look at that ordinance to see how it's functioning. we can actually at some point get back to that. And I think I'm almost certain I still actually have all the draft notes about what it was that needed to be kind of fixed in the wording in the process. And so at some point we can bring that up. And the other was each year for a number of years, including 2019, it's been brought up to the commission that we've actually had a proposal that emanates from state statute about allowing for fines for zoning violations. That all emanates from state statute. And the proposal we had some years ago was literally copy and paste state statute. Inland wetlands actually has such a statute that pertains to them, and they actually have the fine ability. At the prior board of selectmen weren't interested in it, but every year we were bringing it up. And in 2019, again, I have notes to the effect that the commission wanted to bring it back up and consider bringing it to the selectmen again. But again, in 2020, things change. So I don't know if that's still something we want to have on our to-do list. If it is, I can actually get the draft. Previously, it was reviewed and okayed by town attorney, the prior town attorney, Attorney D. I'm happy to have our current town attorney review it. If it's still something we think we want to have on our to-do list, if it is, then it would require us to say, here's a proposal to take to the selectmen, and then it becomes, well, it has to go to town meeting in order to be an ordinance. So I just asked that because that's been a pending to-do item every year for a number of years. I just don't know if you would like us to keep that on the to-do list or what you wish to do with it. I'm open to whatever. We don't have to make a decision on it tonight.
I think we could forward it to the selectmen again.
And it's a new board than the board we worked with prior. What I'll do is, why don't I do this, unless anyone has any objection? The prior draft that was signed off on by Attorney D and that we signed off on each year for a number of years, that proposal has not changed in its wording at all. To be thorough, if you would like, and I'll defer to if Rich Roberts feels we should, have our current town attorney look at it. I know the selectmen will want to have legal review anyway. And so however we wish to do it, we can have legal review now or let the selectmen ask for the legal review, or we can just at an upcoming meeting, we'll have the proposal so that people can be reminded what it was. And then we can take it from there. Rich?
Jeff?
Fred?
Oh,
Go ahead, Fred.
you talked about the Board of Selectmen being new. This board is new too. Why don't you send it out to all the members on the commission and let them have a look at it?
Yep, we have to bring it up anyway. In order for us to bring it back to the selectmen, we would need to vote that we do want to do it because it's been a while since we've actually reviewed it. Do we feel, Rich, did you want to be out? I'm happy to send you a draft. The proposal, it was already prior signed off on, but I don't want to keep you out of the mix. So I'm happy to send it to you so you can look through it and see if there's anything that catches your eye when I send it out to the commission.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I assume that if you send it to the selectmen, they would send it to me, so I might as well see it early.
Okay. So I'll mark those down. And then otherwise, what I'll, as I already mentioned, April, I forget what that first Thursday is in April, will be designated the start again of our planning meetings. So we'll focus on that. When we've done the planning meetings, we've not put any business items on other than that's been pertaining to the planning work we've done. So I'll note that for the April meeting, and then we'll try to get stuff out to you earlier than when we normally get the meeting packet out. So you have a heads up about the stuff with ag where we left off. I think there was like 3 or 4 documents that I don't remember if they were actually sent out in early 2020, but they're on the list to have made certain you got them. So I'll send them to Tina or Cindy and make certain we can get them out to you all, okay? Does anyone have anything else relative to the strategic plan or our work getting back to the ag? Sounds like that will be busy enough. Okay.
Sounds good.
I don't believe we need to take a vote on that because it's actually not a policy. It's more listing of a document of what we do. Tina's not here for the ZEO reports. We do have the ZEO reports here as far as permits. And I didn't see there was anything from an enforcement point of view, so I don't know where any of that stands relative to enforcement. Delia, did you have something?
Not for this, but for your strategic plan. The state's requiring the towns to do an affordable housing plan by 2022. NECOG is writing a regional housing plan, so I just wanted to let you know. Woodstock will be part of that, but you may want to do some additional planning of your own on housing. And you can provide that to NECOG, maybe to incorporate it into the Woodstock section, or you could do an update to the POCD and have that be your housing plan.
We did when we did the POCD, remember we spent a lot of time talking about affordability, affordable housing, even did some build out analyses and other stuff. So we did do actually a good amount of work then. We can certainly, if we wish, which we'll have to do, that's a good point, look into that. And what I'll do is I'll pull some things together. One thing to keep in mind is it's not clear what this current session of the legislature might do regarding affordable housing. In addition to a number of provisions before the legislature, and actually the Housing Committee started meeting today for public hearing as of 11 a.m. There are bills, as you know, to change what degree of responsibility and authority planning and zoning commissions have in each town. But there actually are a number of proposed legislations to get into a number of affordability issues. So it's going to be very interesting what the legislature does regarding that and how that may affect anything that we end up looking at and doing. But what we'll do is, Delia, what I can do, since you said NECOG is looking into stuff, I'll coordinate with you about what stuff we can get out to the commission.
Okay.
And that way, if we have to have something, do you know when in 2022 we have to have it?
I have to send it to you. I can't remember.
Okay, so we'll get that stuff out. Thank you for noting that. So if that's stuff we need to do, that actually would be, in a sense, part of POCD work. We actually have money sitting in our budget. Still a good amount of it. It's around $18,500 to do POCD work. So affordability review would fit under POCD work if we needed to expend any funds on doing anything, as opposed to otherwise. We have that money sitting there. But thank you, Delia. We'll get that stuff out to everybody, so we know exactly when we have to get stuff done and go accordingly. Does anyone have any questions about the ZEO report that we can relay to Tina? Or otherwise, again, she's not able to be here tonight. Okay, I'll find out if there's anything from enforcement that she wasn't able to get out in a report. And if there is something, she can send that out to us and we can go accordingly. And we'll take it from there. Our budget review and bills, you have the document we got. I've already mentioned about our POCD money fund. Otherwise, we have where we stand in the current fiscal year. And I'm optimistic that our proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year, the Board of Finance won't have any issue with, since it's a very, very small amount of money we asked for anyway in the budget. Otherwise, that's where we stand. We have no bills to vote on. There was a small little bill for notification of one of the permits. I'm forgetting which one. I think it was like $30 or something. And that was appropriate to pay, so I signed off on it. Otherwise, we don't have any other bills that we have to vote upon or sign. Does anyone have any questions about the budget review? Okay. We have a couple items in correspondence. I just want to make certain you note. We like getting that quarterly newsletter from the Connecticut Federation of Planning and Zoning Agencies. They always have some interesting things. And one of the things on the first page, which we've actually been told about this before, was general standards alone support denial of special exceptions or special permits. Meaning, I think this was what the appellate court said, that The court reaffirmed the rule that non-compliance with general standards contained in the zoning regulations, which our general standards are public health, public safety, public welfare, is a sufficient basis to deny a special permit application. I'm not stating we do that, but it is interesting when you look at some of these court cases, what the courts say or what they reaffirm or have to say about stuff. So if anyone, let me know if you didn't get this, but this is always good to have. And we do sign up every year to be a member of the Federation. So it's nice to get. And just in case you were wondering, the Federation is not having its annual meeting. It is canceled. As far as I think it was supposed to, I forget when it was supposed to be, but otherwise it was canceled. And we do try to keep track of, you can get a 25-year service or a 12 or more year service recognition, which we've done from time to time. I don't know if there's anyone now, you can't get the award more than once. But I don't know if there's anyone who meets the mark right now. I'll ask Tina, she can pull the list, and if anybody on the commission has met serving more than 12 years or more and hasn't yet gotten a recognition for it, then I will send something in, and what you get is you get like a little, I think not a plaque, but I think a little award recognizing you by the Federation for your service. But we'll take a look at that list, and I can get that in to make certain people get recognized. If you don't want to be recognized, let me know and I won't send it in. But
Jeff, how long have you been on the commission?
I've been on more than 12 years now.
You never got the 12-year award though, did you?
No, I didn't. I could have listed it for last year, but didn't. I forgot. So
Celia, can we make sure Jeff gets a 12-year award?
I'll send something in. I don't know if there's anybody else.
I'll talk to Tina about it.
I think, Gail, we did put your name in prior year. I think you got an award, right?
Yes, I already got an award.
And I don't know who else has been on for 12 years. Sid, how long have you been on? Have you gotten an award?
I think I'm just getting started. A year or two.
But I think you've been on longer than me, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Did you get an award prior? A recognition?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm good though. I'm okay.
How about Fred?
Fred, I don't know. Did we ever? I don't think we've done one for you, Fred, through the Federation.
That's all right.
I know you have space on your wall that you want to put it there. I don't
No,
know.
it's all taken up.
And Joe, I don't know. Have you served 12 years or more?
Oh, yes,
You have?
yes.
Okay. It's
But
a nice
it just feels like yesterday, Jeff.
I don't know if there's anybody else that's served. I'm just looking at the folks who are on the commission. I don't believe any of you else have. So I don't think there's anybody else who have served the 25 years. I think Dexter was the one, and we did recognize him. So, all right. Well, what I'll do is I will note it. And then other than that, I don't think there's any other correspondence that we have received. Other than Rich, I don't know if this made the meeting packet, but there was something I got in the mail from your law firm where you guys let us know about different court decisions, and the Supreme Court, I guess, revised a review. I think it's how the ZBA handles reviewing locations for car dealerships and repair, certificate of location. There was something that came out about some court case.
Yeah.
But that's the ZBA, is that correct? Not us? I think the ZBA has jurisdiction.
Yes.
Yep, on certificate of location. So I don't think there's anything that we would have to do about that. It's more the ZBA has to come up with standards to follow, not anything we have to put in our regulations, Rich?
Correct.
Okay. So one less thing for us to do then. So, other than that, we've reached that point in the meeting then for adjournment. That's where Fred,
Move we adjourn.
somebody wish to second?
Second,
I missed who did that. Who rushed to second? Was that you, Tim? Or-
Yeah, that,
So motion by Rich, seconded by Young to adjourn the meeting. I'll go through the roll, but I think I know that how everyone will vote. Joe Adaletta,
Aye.
Mark Blackmer,
Aye.
Sid Blodgett,
Aye.
Gail Dickinson,
Aye.
Nancy Frazier,
Aye.
Jeff Gordon. One of these times I may vote no just to see what Fred says, but I'm not going to do that tonight. I vote aye. Jeff Marcotte,
Aye.
Fred Rich,
Doesn't matter what you say, I'm leaving anyway. Aye.
and Tim Young. Is that an
Aye.
aye? So unless there's any objection, I take that passes by a healthy margin. I have 8:24 PM. Thank you, everybody. And
Thank you, Joe.
we'll meet again on March 4th for the annual legal training session.
Great.
Very good.
Have a good night.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Delia?